Thank you so much, Alexander, for coming onto my show. Thanks a lot. I know this is all the way from Germany.
Me.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know that you've got a different time zone also, so you're taking everything into consideration. Thank you so much for coming in. So to start off with, you have been an accomplished tennis player to start off with, right? In singles, you were as high as 89 on the ATP ranking. Then doubles, you were as high as 16. You reached the semi-final twice in the Grand Slam. Then, of course, and after that, you started your academy along with your former Davis Cup compatriot Rainer Schüttler, who also has been an accomplished player himself. He reached the Australian Open singles final, which we now, of course, is called Alexander Waske Tennis University, right? And of course, by now, India is quite familiar with you, with your academy, because you are very much present here in India in the form of Altavol, Alexander Waske Tennis University, right? So how has been the journey so far in India, and how did it all start? The entire process of you, choosing India. I guess India is the first foreign entry for you.
Yes. Well, we have a long way back our tie-up with India, because Sriram Balaji was the first player of my academy. That's the one who we started with. So 10 years ago, the Tamil Nadu Tennis Association decided they wanted to send their players abroad and get international influence. So they came to us and they gave us this player, Sriram Balaji, who was supposed to become part of the Davis Cup within 3 years. That was their goal. They also sent Mohit Mayurya Prakash to us. Also a very talented player, but two different personalities. I had to kick out Mohit after 6 months due to being undisciplined with his behavior. Bala has been from the start a pleasure to work with, and I'm very proud of him as a player, but even more as a person of what he has become.
True.
So our tie-up with India was always pretty close, and pretty soon after Bala, not maybe a year, maybe not even, we had Prajnesh Gunneswaran come in. He came after college and started his professional career with us, and after that, Jeevan Nedonchesian joined, and some years later, Sumit Nagal came, and a couple of other Indian players. Now Arjun Kada is also there. So we've always had a good tie-up, and we always got along with the mentality well. And we also found, I think, certain things that were lacking in the Indian game, and that's kind of some of the things that we approached. And therefore, I think we were a bit more well known in India than other academies, because we are not investing so much money into marketing like other very large academies that have a huge budget for marketing. We are a smaller place. We have only 4 courts indoors, and we have 5 courts outdoors. So we are very, very small compared to other places. But we had success with these players, and not only success, I think that these players always felt that the person matters to us and that our individuality is high. It's difficult to be personal with players if you have 80 courts to fill with 600 players. The head coach might not even know the name of some of the coaches. So this is our strength, I would say, this individuality, and the players that were there know this, that it's not only them as players, but also as people, that we care for them. So so that was the beginning with India. And why Ahmedabad? Why Altavol? Well, it was not my idea. It was the father of one of our players, Hanu Patel, who came to me after 6 months of his son spending time at our academy, and he really liked what he saw, and he had the idea of creating an academy in Ahmedabad. And so I flew in with my business partner. We had a look at things and we got along with the people well. And then we decided to try this. And I wanted it a bit different because I said that I want a different way of practice. And so we had 16 coaches over in Germany for 3 months for a very intense amount of training to learn a different way of working tennis. And last year they started with this project. They have improved a local site. We built 7 brand new rebound ace courts. We built a new gym. So the infrastructure is very good there. I was there, I think 5 or 6 times within the last 1.5 years. My head coach was there several times. We just had a video call with him yesterday about certain things. So the tie-up is there. That's how it is right now.
True. Yeah. Now, one thing I have realized from your, academy is that you emphasize quite a bit on the physical side of it, right? Physical conditioning, which is of course very important in today's tennis, right? In today's very physical game that we have in tennis. So what is the thing that you might be doing a little bit differently, otherwise? Because everybody is in physical conditioning, I know, but I feel that you stress on that bit quite a bit, right? Because we have seen our own players evolve quite well in terms of their physicality, be it Sumit or somebody else of late. Because Sumit initially, of course, he always had a good game, but now we could feel that he has that physical conditioning working for him well, much better than earlier times, I guess.
Well, 10 years ago when I started the academy, we were one of the very few academies in the world that had a gym on site, and we also have to see that Rafa and Moratoglu or Good to Great, they didn't exist at the time, so they came later. But True. At that time, very few places had a gym on site. In Germany, I don't think we had one site where we had a full-time fitness coach. So
really?
Someone only devoted for these kind of players. So most of the sites booked a fitness coach from 4 to 6 in the afternoon, and then all the players that were there had fitness from 4 to 6. Not mattering how much tennis they played, if they had intense practice or not, if they were tall, small, fast, slow, whatever, they had fitness 2 hours altogether. So that was the beginning when I said, okay, this cannot be the case. I need a fitness coach to be present from the warm-up until the cool-down. He has to be there. He has to talk to the tennis coaches during the day. They have to agree that this has to be improved, that has to be changed. I need someone that spends way more time into developing programs.
True, yeah.
So that was the start. And nowadays, yes, there is a lot more fitness, but again, the individuality, at times I hear they have fitness coaches training 80 players at the same time. I don't believe in that. So we have to have individual programs, and we have to have someone taking very good care of it. And then it's the quality of fitness, it's injury prevention. So why? Well, there's several reasons why to focus on this. Number one, we want to have bodies that can have a longer career. We also want to have bodies that even after their career, they can still do some sports.
Yeah.
We want to avoid injuries from the start. We want to avoid overtraining. We want to see that the kids are growing up and they're straight, they're coordinated, and they learn a lot about their bodies, and not that the training goes into one way. You will see a lot of tennis players at an early age that play a lot of tennis and do little on the side. If they're right-handed, you see the right shoulder dropping and coming in front. Because a lot of forehands and serves that are being repeated, but very little here, and the left side is not being trained. So they're becoming asymmetric, and this asymmetric thing will lead into maybe problems with the neck, maybe shoulder, maybe elbow. So there's a time when the body says this is too much into one direction. So we're trying to avoid this by proper training. Once we build a straight structure of a body, then it's easier to load the body with work. So then it's like building a house. You need a strong foundation in order to build many storages. So if you don't have that and you put a lot of weight on, it's going to collapse. So kind of like this.
True. Now, talking about individual players, now you have seen Sumit right from his junior days, right? I think it was in 2014 he entered your academy, or maybe before that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was still in his junior times, yeah.
Correct, yeah. And that's when he also, won his Wimbledon doubles title, junior one, of course. Now, of course, we have seen a more matured Sumit Nagal, of course, for obvious reasons, because he has grown over time. So how do you see Sumit evolving as a player now, and where do you see Sumit in the next maybe 4 or 5 years? Because I could see that he's one of the hottest properties in Indian tennis now, right? Yeah. Given that his age is also with him now.
Yes, I mean, his forehand was always his outstanding weapon. That one thing that was really something that is tough to be taught. So that's his natural gift. Sumit has matured in some ways, because when he was younger, when success came, he took that very early to relax a little bit and maybe to celebrate it in a way. So I think that's a normal development, that if you become older, that you look at things a bit different, and he has to stay hungry, because otherwise he's not going to make top 100 or even more. But his recent successes have shown that he can prevail on a higher level, and consistency is one of the keys. So I think that if he stays on that consistent path and he develops physically, mentally, and he develops his game, I think especially on the surfaces that are a bit slower and ideally with a bit of a higher bounce, I think that Sumit can play very dangerous.
True. Yeah. So talking about surface, I mean, we saw Sumit, playing most of his tournaments on clay last year, but it came as a surprise that he actually played well on hard also, because not only US Open where he qualified and played a very good match against Roger, but even then, I think, I'm not sure, I think he played one more tournament before that where he played well, right? So he showed that he can play well on hard also, right? I mean, that was kind of a revelation for us. What do you have to take? What's your take on that?
That's not a surprise.
Okay.
Again, I think that any surface where it's not super fast and the bounce is a bit higher. So US Open has that also, and if it's hot, yes, it might be sometimes faster, but still playable, and the bounce is for sure there. So that really plays into his game. I don't really see him on fast indoor courts or on like a faster grass court. I think he's going to have a tougher time there. But on all the other surfaces, and I mean, the ATP has, and also the ITF, they have tried for many years now to slow things down a bit. They don't want to have surfaces that where only there's a serve and maybe one return. So the ball bouncing a bit more and the game being slowed down, I think plays into his game.
Right, true, yeah. So, I mean, of course, now tennis is quite far off. But having said that, is he going to play more on clay, as has been the case most of the time? Or obviously, when his ranking goes up, maybe he's going to change his entire schedule. Because right now, I guess he's playing more on clay because he wants to come closer to top 100 kind of a situation. That's the case, or?
I don't know. He's not practicing in my academy. So he left us a while ago. So I'm not making his schedule. I don't know what his schedule is.
True. And talking about Prajnesh, we saw him out of the game for about 5 years, right? And then he came back. He came in very strongly, right? And he got in the top 100 as well. So I'm sure you were part of the entire process wherein he changed his game. I guess he went big on his forehand, and I think which really played well. And also complementing on his serve. He's got a big serve by now, and he goes more for 1-2 kind of situation. So you think that really helped his game, because he was going big on his forehand. Of course, there will be time where he will be missing a few lines here and there. So is that a conscious effort? Yeah.
Prajnesh's progress over the last years, I mean, yes, I'm for sure involved over the last 9 years, I would say. But the biggest part or the biggest influence from our academy was Bastian Sovanpratep, who is responsible for Prajnesh and who also coached him at most of these tournaments. So they have developed his game a lot from someone that only stays back and only spins the ball with a forehand and is having a shaky backhand, who doesn't focus enough on his serve and cannot find his concentration period. All of these things have been changed over the years. He has had a tough time physically, so he also had to develop his body in order to be able to play a full season because he had too many injuries before. And Basti really worked hard with him on changing paces on the forehand. So the heavy spin forehand is only suitable against certain players, but we also need to flatten it out sometimes, and especially his forehand inside out, or even the forehand down the line change from players that have a very solid backhand. Then his backhand used to be a big weakness, especially passing, returning. So he would just kind of put it in and hope to come with a forehand again. His backhand has changed tremendously. And if he really stepped into the backhand, he played it very heavy. The matches in Indian Wells really showed that. That's when he played his best, when he stepped in diagonal into the court, took the ball early, really put so much pressure, flat cross court, that the guy had to raise the ball with a forehand, and then he would come with his left-handed forehand and take over. He did that really well. The slowing down part on his serve, taking the time, finding his focus, working the 25 seconds and not being ready always after 7 seconds and playing the next point, which is something that he needed to be aware of. And then he finally realized that his percentage is going up in serve because he takes a bit more time and he is a bit more clear of what he wants to do and what he wants to change. Because, I mean, he has a great build for a big server, so very lengthy arms and a very good angle there that he can use. So a lot of more free points that were coming in there. And yes, I mean, he's still not done. I mean, we're still working on a transition of him coming more to the net, especially if guys are really far back and slicing out of defense, that he comes in and finishes the volleys. So these things we're still working on, but you know, it's another player that has developed great, and another personality that after breaking top 100, you will see certain people change. They will become a bit arrogant or a bit like, I'm so cool, I'm the best. I can only raise my hat for respect. Prajnesh stayed exactly the same nice guy that he was before. A humble, respectful person, a thankful personality that always was really a team worker, that always stayed in touch and that didn't change, and that always had an open ear for certain things. So I'm really happy with him, how he developed as a professional, successful player, that he stayed himself.
True. That's so important, right? I mean, to stay on the ground and then improve, right? Self-improvement is the only thing that,
being a successful tennis player doesn't mean that you're a good person. But I would say the most successful people, like Roger Federer, such a nice person also. And it doesn't matter if the camera is on or not. In the locker room, where all the people from the outside cannot see, he's still friendly, he's still humble, he's still a good guy, and nobody films him, so he doesn't have to be.
Now, one interesting successful story that your academy has is, I think, way back in 2011 with Angelique Kerber, right? When I think she lost the first round in Wimbledon, and then she was out of top 100, I guess. And then just prior to US Open, she came to your facility and trained at your facility for about 5-6 weeks, I guess.
Right after Wimbledon, we had a sit down in Wimbledon, and we said that she's really unhappy with her game right now, and that she doesn't know what to do. And then we said, okay, why don't you play the tournament? We're gonna watch the match. We're not gonna say anything, and just to see something, and then let's talk after. So she played a terrible match, lost to Laura Robson first round.
Yeah.
And so we talked after, and she was very negative. She was talking about quitting tennis.
Oh, really? Okay.
She said that she doesn't want to play anymore. She was already 30 something in the world, and now she's dropping out of top 100, and it doesn't make sense, and she's not happy, and so on and so on. So we said, you know what, why don't you just come by for a week? Let's practice, let's see what we can do. I think we see some things that you can do better, and let's go from there. So we practiced for a week, and she was happy, exhausted. Her endurance level was shocking, it was really bad. She wasn't moving well, she was overweight.
Okay.
And we would actually, when we went running with her, we would lose her in the woods at times. We would have to turn around because she was so slow, and she was always complaining, I'm not a runner, I'm never going to be good at this.
Okay.
And so after a week, she said that she wants to go play a challenger somewhere because she's dropping out of top 100 and she needs to make some points. And we had a long sit down, and we explained to her that right now, we said, you did a very good week. We see a lot of things that we can improve, but we said, right now, you're not ready to beat good players. You're not in a good shape. And we said, we really strongly advise to keep practicing and build up your level for you to be able to beat good players again. So the talk was very long, but at the end, she was there with her mother, and they decided, okay, we're going to stay for another week. At the end of the next week, we again had a talk. It was again long, not as long as the first week. It was the same battle, and we decided to stay for another week. And then we did the same thing for 5 weeks, and we kept telling her, no, don't go. And then last week, I think she said, yeah, I don't even have to come to you anymore. I know you want me to keep practicing. And then we sent her, she went to Dallas for the pre-tournament of the US Open, and she qualified, made semis. And then we were in New York, and she played the Slam. First round, she beat a young wildcard, Lauren Davis, in a terrible match. First round, we got lucky to win that. And then second round, she faced Agnieszka Radwanska, who was, I think, the 12th seed at the time.
Yeah.
And everybody expected her to lose. It was a very, very tough battle on grandstand. It was a very good match. And she turned it and she won. And then suddenly the draw opened up. There was no big name that came. And she beat a couple of other girls and ended up in the semifinal and lost in a close one to Sam Stoger. And boom, she was 35 in the world. And now a lot of things have changed there. And she became hungry. She felt, I'm so much better like this. I'm lighter, I'm moving better, I'm doing this.
True. Yeah.
So she was very motivated, and now she really wanted more. So we agreed that she started preseason on the 6th of November, where most of the players are still on holidays. And we did a 7-week period in 2011. So it was 5 weeks between Wimbledon and US Open. And then she played for another 2.5 months on tour. And then we did a 7-week, very, very long and intense preseason. And I would say that she was in the shape of her life up until that moment. And in 2012, she broke into top 10 and made number 5. That was the period. And that, I think, made her a different player. And she found a very good way on extending the next years to put more effort into fitness. She traveled with fitness coaches and physiotherapists and really professionalized her whole surrounding. And then she became one of the best moving players in the world. So amazing.
True.
She did a really good job.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, actually. I mean, talking about German tennis now, of course, we had Boris Becker, Steffi Graf at the same time. We used to rule world tennis. And then there was a little bit of lull. Of course, we had fine players at the time, a little bit. But now we've got, I think, Sasha, then Kerber. I think German tennis is back big time now, right?
I wouldn't agree with you. No.
Yeah, okay.
The time after Becker was, there was a lot of tennis players that, or a lot of people that started to play tennis. So after that, for many years, we always had around 10 players in the main draw of a Grand Slam for the women's and for the men. So I don't think it's a success to have Boris Becker or Roger Federer. I think these people will be born. These are superstars. But to create players like Prajnesh, who is a top 80 player, this is a lot of work. He is a gifted player, but it's not that he is the most biggest talent ever in the world. So I think these players you can get by a certain amount of talent, but hard work, discipline, and so on will get you to be successful. So Germany has had so many players in that area. I'm one of them. I was never a top 50 player.
Definitely,
But right now we don't have that anymore. So Sasha Zverev is a big difference or an exception. But we don't have 10 players in the main draw anymore. We are lacking. We have 5 players now. And if you look at the junior Grand Slams, we don't have any Germans making trouble there. So I'm not so happy about the German future when it comes to, yes, we have Alexander Zverev, but where are the others that are 60, 70, 80, 90 in the world? Which means that we'll get there.
True. You're saying that the depth of German tennis is a little bit on lowest, right? I mean, you have somebody who is at very top, but down below you don't have too many players.
During my time, Zverev,
you had a lot of players, yes.
Not a number 1, but he was top 5. But in my time, we had Tommy Haas, Nicolas Kiefer, and Rainer Schüttler. They were all 3 top 5. Right now, we have 1. The next best player is Jan-Lennart Struff, which did a great job, I think. Really improved a lot over the years, but not a top 10 player. So we went from 3 top 10 players to 1 top 10 player now. We went from 10 top 100 players to 5. So, and we went from having 5 players in the main draw of a junior Grand Slam to 1 or 0. That's a clear sign for me.
True. I mean, you got a point actually. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think on those lines. True. Yes. And now coming to Indian tennis, what do you make of Indian tennis? Because by now you have seen enough of it. I think enough of it in a sense. You have seen quite a bit of it. So what do you make out of it about the Indian players? I'm not going to talk about Prajnesh or Sumit Nagals, they're there. But the players in general, their work ethics, their skill level, their mental conditioning, physical makeup, the overall thing I'm asking.
Well, the overall picture is that in your culture, sport is not super high. It's not, education is always number 1. And in Germany, and this was the way my father brought me up, he said, as long as your grades are good, you can do as much sports as you want to. But he didn't exclude me from sports when I had exams. So I'm finding it very tough that people come and say, our child's not coming for practice for the next 6 weeks because they have to study. I don't think it's beneficial to study 12 hours a day. I think you can, even though you're heavy into studies, you can still have a tennis session and a fitness session in between. You can practice, you can study 2 hours in the morning, hit some tennis balls, study 2 hours, have some fitness, study for another 2 hours, have a nap and study for another hour. I think there's a limit to how much I can actually put in my brain, same like on the tennis court. So I would like it that Indians would have a focus on something, and that's totally fine if the focus switches a bit to school in certain times and then it's more tennis, but it should never be like 100% school and now 100% sports. I don't think that's the right way. That's the number 1 thing. And then the tennis in India for sure has to develop. Too many sites are lacking the infrastructure. We all know that good courts are expensive, and if you paint courts with a certain amount of time, they become faster. And if the courts are getting too fast, then the game cannot be developed, because on the professional courts, they're slower, and you need to develop different things and shots. And on a fast surface, that's not modern tennis anymore. Yeah. So so this is for sure something where which could maybe be improved. And then yes, it's certainly difficult sometimes. Bala and Praj both practiced a lot in Chennai. I don't know how much we could practice if it's 40-degree plus.
That's one thing I was about to ask you actually.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Most of the tournaments are not being played in a brutal heat like this. So yeah, the combination. Another thing that is quite lacking is the fitness part. People are telling me that I don't think that you can really study sports science, that there is something like an educational pathway for a strength and conditioning coach, a fitness coach, an athletic coach. So this part is lacking in India. So as long as this is not happening, you won't have enough qualified coaches that can also train it in a professional manner. And if you compare India with other countries, I would say in a lot of the Western countries, it doesn't matter if it's America or Europe, you will see a lot of people going running. You will see a lot of gyms, people doing this. And this has also changed in Germany. 20 years ago, we didn't have a gym on almost every corner. Yeah. Now, you maybe have one McDonald's and one gym, that kind of ratio. So people are much more aware of their bodies, and they're investing more time in this, taking care of their bodies. And in India, I haven't seen that really, that a lot of people go running outside on the streets.
No, I'd like to give you some good news about this. I think things have changed a little bit of late, because one is that the government, for example, they are giving a lot of importance to school games. For example, we've got something called the Khelo India, which is to do with, it's basically that didn't happen that much earlier. So also talking about, we've got a lot of leagues now. I'm sure you know India is only about cricket. It used to be only about cricket, right? So we've got different leagues now. Yeah. So even, in fact, Sumit also used to play cricket at one point of time, before actually switching to tennis. That's the way it has been. But thankfully, we have been giving a lot of more importance to other sports as well. So we've got, today we've got badminton league, table tennis league, football league, which was never the case before.
But badminton and table tennis, you've been successful, especially badminton, also badminton. Squash. So these sports, yes. When I grew up, India was a massive force in hockey. Not so much anymore, because hockey also got, you guys were always the most crafty ones with handling the stick.
Now the AstroTurf, so it's no more grass, it's more AstroTurf. It has a more physical, more,
You need to be super strong, fit, running. True. So this is a part that has to change, because with a population being that high, you don't have enough athletes that are having a say in the world. So you're not a massive threat at the Olympic Games to score 50 gold medals.
Yes, definitely.
But I think there's no reason why you shouldn't. So a lot of people have come to me, and I don't know where that comes from, but some people really thought that the Indians are physically, genetically disadvantaged for some reason. And I told them it's not the case. Sriram Balaji, when he came to us, he was so skinny, there was nothing on him, but he has the best results in speed, in movement. The guy is such a great athlete, but he had to be trained, and his transformance of a player from before and after, I could send you 2 pictures that show him when he came and how he looked then.
Please do.
So he developed into a very, very good professional that takes things very serious and takes his physical stuff also. It's very important for him to be fit. So I think that these things, they will take some time, but there will be a development in India. And I think that sports will become more important, and it is a realistic pathway to develop the tennis skills, and then maybe find a way to college tennis, and also to see that the network in tennis is pretty large in the world, and it's very highly looked for that people in business also have shown skills in sports. If it's a team sport or an individual sport, it both has positive effects. So if you're either compatible in a team, or if you're good under pressure and you can focus and you're being disciplined, all of these things are good qualities also for business.
True. Yeah. I mean, tennis also, not in tennis, any sport teaches kids and everybody so many life skills as well, right? And that is also
Yes.
important. Yeah. So like you said, I mean, discipline is something that is very important for any player, right? Prime example has been, Sriram Balaji, like you said. So I'm sure in the tennis with the right ethics and with coaches like you, academies like you, and you all coming to India also, imparting your knowledge, your skill, your expertise, and the fact that you have played the game, at a very elite level really helps, right? So I'm sure we have better times. Of course, it's not that we are in a very bad times with Indian tennis. We already have, players evolving like Sumit Nagal and all that.
Yes.
And I'm sure, we'll do well.
But I think that the other point that I mentioned is that developing a sports science field in India would for sure help also. So that people can study this. This will open up opportunities because there's more coaches than in India, and that will improve the fitness levels and the gyms and the whole thing. So all sports need fitness. There's even cricket that is not the most athletic, but still I think that the best players in the world are very fit and are investing a lot of time into their bodies. So fitness is the part that is important for all of them. So it's mandatory.
Yes, of course it is. So thank you so much, Alexander, and I don't know when we'll again see you in India, like things stand right now. Yeah, but
first the flights have to happen again. Airports have to open.
True.
But if that all happens, I'm looking forward to go back and see my friends and partners in Ahmedabad. I always enjoy my time there. My wife joined me last year. We had when we had the big opening. We had Bala and Prague on site. They were also there.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed the time there. At the end of the day, it all matters of, I think, what kind of people you meet there. And
true. Yes, that's what matters, right?
But I see a lot of smiling faces, and gives me a good feeling. The coaches that we worked with for 3 months, there's for sure a bonding happening. It's different because you just had so much to do with each other day in, day out. So I'm always happy to be there. True.
And you're always welcome to India. And hopefully next time, I'll have the opportunity of meeting you, even though not physically, maybe on the phone, just to say hi to you when you come to India. So thank you so much, Alexander, for your time. It was really great having you. I always wanted you, on my show because of all the good things that you are doing.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much, and keep on with your good work. Not only with Indian tennis, of course, with the tennis overall, because you're giving back to the game that you once played so well. So that's what really matters, giving back, right? Yeah. So thanks, Alexander. Thank you so much, and
you're welcome.
Yeah. Good night. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.